Okay, today we are going to start putting our roofing on. I'm going to start down here on the first floor roof, and I'm going to start with all the drip edge trim, so let's get going. To secure the drip edge to the roof, we're using roofing nails that actually have a little rubber gasket on them. Now ideally you would want to put your ice and water shield over your drip edge, but because of the order that we kind of built it in, we had to do it after, but that's okay, we'll zip tape it anyways. And then as you can see, I'm putting a little thing of caulk in between where they're going to overlap. That way if any water kind of squeezes in there, they're not going to run all the way down and underneath the drip edge. It's going to bang you off a little bit, sorry. Ow! Get it in. After putting the drip edge on the first floor roof, we repeated the process on the second floor roof. The only difference was it was a lot higher and a lot sketchier doing it on the second floor. And then I know I didn't show it here, but if you're going to use zip tape, make sure you roll the tape. It's very important because it's a pressure sensitive adhesive. For our roofing panels, we went with a PBR style roof panel. We were going to go a standing seam, and then this turned out just to be a little bit easier to install. And I didn't really care about the look of the exposed fastener. That wasn't a big turnoff for me. The one thing we did do that I should note is we got 24-foot panels, which is the length of our roof. We wanted to go with the 24-foot panels because we didn't want to have like 2 or 3 different panel seams in the span of the roof in case it got snow and ice on it and water backed up and could creep under those panels and then we'd get a leak. So we wanted that continuous panel from the top to the bottom of the roof. So we're going to jump around a little bit here. We put the first panel up, and after the first panel we opted to put on our rake trim. We did this for a couple reasons. One, we didn't want to be moving the long 10-foot pieces of metal around on our completely finished roof. And 2, I was by myself at this point, so it's just a little easier to work on that. And don't worry, I'm going to show you how we actually cut the ends of the trim to make it look all clean and nice. In a different video, it's going to be in our soffit and fascia video, just because it's a little easier to see those views when we're up in a lift. But with the rake trim, we did the same thing as the drip edge, where I put a line of caulk to seal water from getting underneath of it. Getting that panel up by myself was not fun, but when we had 2 people, we got it down pretty good, as you'll see. But putting these panels together, they overlap a little bit, and then I did the same thing that I did with the trim, where I put that line of caulk to seal in between them. That way, once again, if snow or ice builds up, it can't creep underneath of the lip and cause a leak. Now I'm going to talk about the screw pattern for a little bit. On PBR panels, on the top and the bottom edges, you screw on every side of the large corrugation in it. So on the left and right side of those large corrugations gets a screw. And in the field of the panel, meaning the middle part that's not the end, you only have to screw on one side of the corrugations, as you can see here. Now if you were keen enough to notice, I did forget what side of the corrugation I was screwing on at that point, but it doesn't look bad and you can't really notice unless I point it out or you're really looking for it. I'm not going to show you guys too much more of screwing the panels in or putting the panels together because it gets pretty repetitive. But we did have a couple penetrations in our roof, those being the plumbing vents. Now, if you're also keen, you can see that we haven't yet uncapped our plumbing vents. So that will be happening and our drains will drain so much better. But that being said, we basically just cut holes using this hole saw in the plumbing or in the roofing where those vents are, and then we just slid the roofing panel right over that vent. Now, to completely waterproof that vent, we use a boot on our metal roofing. So basically we have a rubber boot. We're going to caulk around the bottom of the rubber boot, and then we put a bunch of screws in it to keep it nice and secure.
The dose of caulk on this.
And for anyone worried, we did come back later with sheet metal screws instead of metal to wood screws and screw in those top corrugations right there, so those are also nice and tight. The next vent we had to deal with was our bathroom fan exhaust vent. This was the hardest one to deal with, and it's just because of how it was formatted or how it kind of sat in there. So basically there is a flat piece of metal that goes directly against the roof, and then the vent comes out through that. So we had to cut a square hole out of our roofing and then a slit to one side for that flat piece that goes directly against the roof. The top half of that flat piece slid underneath our roofing, and then the bottom half of that the flat piece sat on top of our roofing, and that just makes it shingled correctly. So if water gets up under there, it flows from the roof on top of that vent and then back onto the roof, instead of there just being a hole in the roofing that stuff can get trapped in. After getting done with the second floor roof, we then moved back down to the first floor roof and put the rest of the panels on down there. We had 6 panels total on each roof, so 12 panels total for our entire house. And then after getting all those panels secured, we went back and finished all of the gable trim, which is the trim on the sides, and then we also put the peak trim on, which is the trim obviously on the peak. We're back on the second floor roof, and what we're going to be doing today is buttoning up a couple things that we didn't finish. First one is this end of this panel. From about here over is not on the roof, so we're going to have to cut it out. I'm going to chalk line it first. We got to go through too, and where all the panels join together, where it laps over, we're putting screws in the top. Everywhere it laps over, so we will do that as well. Woo! A little breezy. Got some leaves. So these are the two pieces of trim that go on the roof. They're each about 10 foot 2 inches long. So we might just keep them that length and overlap them that much. And then instead of screwing them in with the screws we had before, they screw into these top peaks. And we have these 3/4 inch sheet metal screws. Oh, that looks so nice. Oh, that looks even After getting our gable trim and our peak trim on, we then put on our wall to roof transition flashing. And what this does is it basically acts as the bottom flashing for our siding. So if any water gets behind our siding, it's going to drip down this flashing onto the roof and then exit the roof into the gutters. We are going to zip tape the top of this as well so that it is completely leak proof.
Okay, you're just laughing at me, saw you!
I want to address one more thing before I let you go, and that is airflow under our roof. Now you want airflow under your metal roof, that way if condensation builds up or water gets under there, because roofs do leak, that it dries up. The reason we didn't use furring strips like a 1x4 or something underneath the roof to allow airflow is because the corrugations in the PBR panel are so large that it allows a pretty large amount of airflow through that corrugation. So that's the decision we made. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little shorter than our last one, but make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and leave any questions you have in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them the best that I can. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one, and thanks for watching.
Little girls. For the little girls. Okay. Yeah, I know.